Now, children are often the worst affected by that fighting in Mosul. A study by Save the Children shows many are unable to show emotion and are haunted by nightmares. For more on the lasting impacts, Marcia Brophy from Save the Children joins us now live from Amman in Jordan. Thanks so much for joining us, Marcia. What exactly are you seeing in these children that shows how badly they're suffering psychologically?
Yeah. Sadly, the interviews and research that we conducted with the children who've most recently fled from Mosul, they're lacking in being able to express themselves, to express their emotions, to be able to really reflect kind of the things they've seen. They talk about monsters, they talk about the extent of dead bodies, of hanging bodies around them. And they talk about having nightmares daily and every night. So they feel this sense of dread, of being unsafe, of extreme grief and loss, but they don't know how to express it. So in some ways, we talk about it in the report that they are like a robotic nature. So they're not really showing any anger, any sadness, any fear in terms of how normal children of this age would be able to express themselves. These children aren't being able to have it. They're showing all the classic symptoms, unfortunately, of toxic stress. And toxic stress is one of the most severe forms of stress that you can have when a child's body and mind is in fight or flight response constantly. And if it's prolonged, it has the most detrimental long-term impacts in terms of their physical health and their mental health.
And how can they recover from that and perhaps even reclaim at least a part of their childhood? Is it possible?
Yeah, absolutely. What we're trying to do at the moment is work with them on a very gentle and soft way. So we're in our child-friendly spaces, we give them hopefully a safe space so they can begin to try and express their emotions through whether it's play or drawing or just listening and talking to each other. That safe space is really key in a gentle way for them to be able to reflect and begin to think about what happened to them. One of the things, though, that's key is that's the initial response that's needed for mental health needs. But medium to longer term, we know that there's a huge gap in terms of funding for more specialised mental health services for children and adolescents. And that's what's key and that's what's going to be needed longer term. And what we're asking for in this report and trying to highlight is the vast need of these mental health issues. And there's a huge lack in funding, that we only have 2% of our 2017 funding pool to be able to cover psychosocial or mental health needs. So although we can provide a safe space initially, there will be a need for more child psychologists, child counsellors. So we're calling on international donors to increase significantly their investment in mental health services, but also on the government of Iraq to help us provide child psychologists, child counsellors to give these children a chance for the future.
And now Save the Children has studied children in war zones all around the world, but is what you're seeing in Mosul, in a sense, unprecedented? Have you seen this kind of damage before? Or is the experience of living under Daesh particularly tragic?
I think, unfortunately, we are seeing something slightly different here, more tragic. We carried out similar research groups, shall we say, for our Syria report that we launched back in March, with similar aged children who were undergoing obviously horrific circumstances as well and suffering from traumatic experiences. But in those groups, when we conducted that research, the children did show a range of emotions. They could show anger still, they could show sadness and grief. They could also show some glimmers of happiness and laughter with silly games that we played with them. For the groups who've most recently fled from Mosul, we're not seeing that range of emotions. And so in some ways, like I said, it's like they've lost that ability to be able to be children, to be able to express themselves. And that's something very different to other conflict settings.
Okay. Marcia Brophy, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us.